meeting, and we have any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? If not, okay, we have a departmental budget review by the library. Okay.
Bill?
Oh. Okay, sorry.
I thought you would ask me to do a little over.
Okay, yeah, okay, I'll do that.
No?
No, that's all right. I just saw this part of it there, and I thought, go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to highlight some of the changes since the first draft then. So the first draft budget, there was a 8.7% departmental increase, which, amounted to 4.08% after the transfer from the tax rate stabilization reserve. With the second draft budget, we have a 4.71 departmental increase, and that results in a 0.09% increase to the municipal levy after the transfer from the tax rate stabilization reserve. So this was just the new summary by department showing the changes, and that's where the 4.71% is. And then this just shows the net levy requirements, less the $350,000 we were taking from the tax rate stabilization reserve, and we have the 0.09% increase to the overall levy. So some of those changes, we have $5,100 that it was administration wages that had been reflected twice, so we subtracted that. It says treasury, it should be administration, I apologize. Police, they have reduced their budget, and I'm not going to highlight that because they're here to speak to that. The changes in the Public Works Department, we removed $20,000 for the lane markings, and the draw from reserves was reduced by $23,000 because we didn't need that much in 2017. So that was a bit of an extra makeup there. There was a small $360 transposition error that was corrected for $360. I've included $11,500 for summer student revenue. That is assuming we have the 8 students so we can meet the requirements. We took $100,000 off to defer the shave and pave, which it's obviously much more than that, but it was just as a place marker. That project would have went forward had we not been successful with the Connecting Link funding. In environmental, we increased our recycling revenue, $5,500. We reduced wages at the cemetery, $9,920. Recreation, we increased facility rental revenue, $4,700. Again, the library made some reductions, $7,400, which I'm not going to go into detail because the library is here to present their budget as well. Cultural activities, that was for the rehabilitation of the historical park, and we reduced that by $25,000 in our first walk through the budget. The water and sewer phase 2A, so that project actually came in under budget. So I've reduced that. That doesn't have an impact on the tax levy because it's all funded through water and sewer user fees, and it just came from the reserve transfer. There was also an email back in February about some additions to the water equipment, wastewater equipment for $52,000 and $27,000. Again, those are user fees, so it doesn't affect the actual tax levy. And then I was requested to put in half of the budget for the fire hall in 2018. So that I put in $1,125,000, showed an offset from reserves for that. And then with the decision on the police, we've reflected one-time transition costs of $1.7 million, and again, showed the transfer from reserve for that. So overall, from the first version of the draft budget, we've made further reductions of $302,580. So I did just want to kind of highlight then the big impact to the reserves from the two big decisions on the fire hall and the policing decision. And so of course everyone wants to know, what does that mean to me as a resident? For the average residential household, while the municipal levy was up 0.09%, that translates to the average household residents an increase of $4.86 on the municipal side, but the education levy decrease was actually higher than that. So overall, there's a decrease to the residential household of $2.03. And then that was just a summary then of the last several years, the minimal impacts to the residential tax rates. So that was all that I have for the overview.
Great. Now that's just based on rolling in the fire hall, something for the fire hall, the police, all the other changes we made. Now we know what the capital, what the actual grant amounts are going to be, so it's allowed us to fine tune the budget a little bit, and it actually has a positive impact on for the taxpayer. Okay, so now we'll go with the budget for the library.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am thrilled to be standing here in front of you on this bright sunny day, which means spring has finally arrived, to support the library's 2018 budget requisition. Not because I'm a fan of being inside on a lovely day, but because since my arrival in 2016, I feel that the board and myself have moved the library forward in demonstrable ways. In spite of the fact that it has felt like a long crisis management catastrophe all along the way. Though not totally unforeseen, the issues that have arisen have always surfaced in very unexpected ways. And they've always meant a need for immediate action. As our councillors that sit on the board know, we have never been able to take things in hand and get full control. The dated and failing infrastructure have always presented the situational urgencies that had to be dealt with immediately and, unfortunately, demanded a lot of time along the way. Our retiring workforce has also presented its own challenges, and it led the board to develop a succession plan that now is in action and is working, as is reflected by the reduction and adjustment in our wages for our part-time workers. The board is currently working on a new strategic plan, since the old one has actually completed its course of actions demanded. And the direction of that strategic plan is going to be developed, or is going to be guided by the results of 2 surveys that we have undertaken. The 2 surveys include a general one that was put out to the public in paper and online format, and we received some very interesting comments back and some good guidance for moving forward. The other survey was targeted to the teen sector only. Those results for both surveys will be analyzed and presented to the Strategic Planning Committee within the next 2 weeks. So the library is finally preparing to move forward and is going to develop that plan that will include the outreach and the community development that we actually planned on more than 2 years ago when I was hired. So we will be doing direct outreach to homebound. We will be developing more partnerships with community groups and community services. And this will include the schools as well, something that I've got a fondness for. And it will also include more programming moving forward for a variety of demographics. One of our key thrusts this year is that we will be offering movies at the library, targeting all demographics, including the seniors, the children, the teens, and the young adults. And if we're lucky, we might even be able to arrange some date night type movies for those couples who very rarely can get out. Most people are publicly and categorically fond of their public library. They say that libraries are great, they enable the community, they benefit the community. In fact, one of the most strong proponents is a real estate agent. I've always run into agents that say, oh, by the way, there's a public library within walking distance. That's always a good selling feature for anybody who's moving to a new community. The value of the library comes from not only sustaining our status quo, but improving the services and the resources available. My feeling, and this is my interpretation only, is that the library in town here has had to basically start at the foundation and rebuild from the basic catalog tool that we had. We had to transition that to a new system. We've rebuilt the staff, our retired veterans, retired by the end of last year. So we've had to develop a new staffing model, which includes now a cross-generational workforce, which is always a benefit. We've also had to actually deal with parts of the building itself that were major issues. Those issues now having been dealt with, somewhat under control to the point where we feel we can move forward. We want the library to become inclusive, engaging the community, and become the hub that we should have been. We want to make sure that we meet the community needs, which is what the survey was all about. The board and I, as I said, have talked about that, and that was actually part of the hiring process, was that we were to move forward. So the value of the funding requisition that I bring to you today cannot be overstated. As councillors are all aware, public libraries are funded in very small proportion by the province. And that is unacceptable. We are hoping that the funding promises that we received a few weeks ago now from the province will actually come into play. But given the status of the upcoming election, we can't hold our breath and hope that that happens. So your major role is funding the library operations to the tune of more than 80% of our actual costs. That 80% will allow us to provide the community-based services that Espanola needs. We see every day people coming in utilizing our resources. That includes the unemployed or the underemployed who are looking for new job opportunities, those families that are looking for leisure time activities, the young mother with her toddler looking for some social interaction. It also includes our seniors who come every Monday afternoon to play bridge. The library provides resources, that social interaction, as well as a public democratic space for people to exchange ideas. The library board and myself and all of our staff acknowledge and appreciate the contributions and the support that come from council every day. We hope that you will continue to support us as strongly as we requisition, and hope that we can move forward in the way that we planned at this point. You will be receiving our strategic plan within the next few months, and it will give us a very strong direction to move forward with. Thank you, and I will do my best to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. And the adjustment in the budget was built into Cynthia's numbers.
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Todd and Mary Lou, I'm not sure who's going to speak.
Because I can talk and talk at the same time right now. Chief Zimmerman is going to give a report.
Oh, aren't you lucky?
Okay. For you, Mr. Chair, on behalf of the Police Services Board, we'd like to provide our proposed budget for 2018. You will see that the operating budget is $2,541,202. That's a 6% increase. And we've also got a $25,000 capital reserve. Go to the next slide. Well, when you talk about a capital reserve, and I know things are changing in the landscape of policing in Espanola, but there are some items that you still have to purchase through a capital budget, depending on how things are going. One of the most important one up there would be ministry-approved drug testing equipment through our drug recognition experts and our standard field sobriety test officers. The ministry will provide approved testing equipment. That hasn't been established yet, but once it is established, then that's a purchase that'll have to take place. A lot of the other items on the capital reserve are not items that we're asking for, but they're just items that you have to consider moving forward with a capital budget. Hence why you put some money aside. Hence why you put some money aside for future years. So I'm not going to really go into the details of those items right now. The salaries, the cost anticipated, so salaries and benefits for the sworn members make up 71% of the budget. Salaries and benefits for civilians make up 19% of the budget, which is a total of 90% of the budget for the police department. 4% we put aside for materials and supplies, which includes equipment, repairing vehicles, repairing the police station, hydro, electrical, any uniforms that we have to buy. We did have to buy new body armor this year for the officers because they were expired. That is a significant bill that we had to pay. And of course, communications and making sure everything is running smoothly. 5% of our budget is as a result of the legal expenses that have occurred in the police department, with one officer on suspension, the chief in the situation he's in, and seconding me to the position I'm performing right now. So that is a pretty significant impact there. And the capital budget is 1% of the budget, being the $25,000. The next slide is just basically that chart broken down into line figures. Just give you a couple seconds to look at it. The offset of our normalized costs are through grants and revenues, which I'll get to shortly.
Does the services 523 make up part of that reduced cost in officers from 17 to 18?
No, so the services there, that deals with the usual one-time cost being the $350,000 from that $523,000. If you could help me a little bit more on that.
Oh.
523?
Yeah, well, a large part of that is as the chief.
Yeah, no, it's not. I was noticed officers' salaries.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
because in 2017, he didn't break it down the same, like.
Oh,
the officers
okay.
and civilians.
It was all lumped. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay. So the next slide. So operating expenditures. I've basically talked about it. That includes communications, your hardware, your software, your telephone, tower maintenance, all those types of things to ensure you have communications. Facilities maintenance, that's your gas, hydro, water, security of the cameras, and any janitorial. Office operations, that's the furniture, flooring. The flooring in the police department does need repairs, but under the latest decision, that might not be something that we want to explore at this time, but those floors do need to be repaired. And then equipment leases, that's your photocopiers, your tower sites and things like that. Training, police officers still have to be up to speed on the relevant training that's mandated by the ministry. So even though we are proceeding to the OPP, we still have to keep up our training while we're currently the police department. Legal, that's probably the biggest impact on the budget, which I've talked about, and that's board legal fees and police legal fees. Vehicles, we do have five vehicles and 2 snowmobiles. They're getting near end of life, but they're not at end of life, so they're good for now. But those are operating expenses when it comes to gas, tires, repairs for maintenance and things like that. Police Services Board, that comes out of the police budget as well. So their honorariums, advertising, memberships, and any seminars and training. And then finally, it's the equipment and clothing, which I basically talked about: uniforms, ammunition, CEWs. That's basically, people know them as tasers. So the tasers we have are currently non-existent, so if they break, we have to buy new ones. So they're currently okay, but if they do break and we need a CEW or a taser, we would have to purchase them. And that's basically an overview there. Our anticipated revenues, so through parking fines, bylaw infractions, police occurrences. That means when people come in through Freedom of Information and want a copy of our police occurrences. Alarm fees, that's after someone's had 3 false alarms, they get charged fees for the false alarms. And criminal records checks, people come in and have their fingerprints done. We have to pay the RCMP, but we do get a little bit of revenue as far as that goes. Dispatching services, that deals with our fire services that we're dispatching for. And 911 answering, we are the PSAP for this area currently, so we do get some revenues with that. And then just miscellaneous revenues that meant we might obtain, we're anticipating on the 37th. So when we come to the next slide is grant revenues. So for the 2018, the RIDE grants, and actually most of the grants are going through a 2-year cycle. So we will be applying for the RIDE grant for 2018 and 2019. But in 2019, because it'll be the OPP, there may be some cost deferreds there because we go from municipal to provincial. We do get grant funding for community policing and safe communities program. Those are grants that used to be in perpetuity over time. That basically increases the officer staffing in the community, and we get to a tune of $100,000 through those grant fundings. That type of grant funding is going to be changed to a new grant, which is going to be a PEM grant in the future. But we're still under this umbrella for this year, so we don't have to write to that new grant. So we get the money. Proceeds of crime, that kind of falls into what I just talked about, but there are other opportunities for proceeds of crimes grants that I've just been made aware of, but it's a 2-year grant, and that one you have to be in existence for the whole period, so I can't apply for that grant funding. And the last one that came in through the ministry is sexual assaults preparedness for police officers. That's involving community partners. I have reached out to the community partners, including the OPP. I still think the community should write for that grant opportunity. It's an opportunity to get up to $75,000 each year for 2 years. So hopefully the OPP and the community can write to that. It has to be brought forward by a police agency, but you have to have a community partner. So that is some other revenues that we may be able to obtain. And that is basically it, unless you have questions.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Sarah Todd.
Okay, thank you.
So the last departmental review is fire.
So there's our proposed budget for 2018. Hopefully overall it's actually going down. Had some changes. Minor changes in our office administration. We've had some changes in building maintenance, but and our SCBA's, our new SCBA's, we are going to be going to tender for, which is budgeted under capital. There will be a community services report, staff report coming out for the next community services meeting. So the SCBA retrofit costs went down drastically due to the purchase of new SCBA. So we're calculating about $9,000 savings there. With that, I just want to expand, we've also been working with Domtar, because we are looking at new SCBA, the new standards and the new way they make SCBA's. There's also going to be a new air compressor required to fill the SCBA's. So we've gone from an air cylinder that we used to require 2200 PSI to a compressor now is going to require 4500 PSI to fill up our new cylinders. So the cost of a new air compressor is almost $50,000. That is not included in this budget. Because we've been working with Domtar, Domtar has one on site, and we have a verbal agreement right now. It's in the second stage of a written agreement. They are going to be donating one to us free of charge. So two of our firefighters and myself have been working with some of the upper nonchalants at the Domtar, and so far things are looking really positive in favor of us receiving that no charge. Moving forward. There's not too much. The other changes. Again, the dispatch services, I guess, for this year will probably remain about the same, subject to change in the future. And if we go to capital, that's the purchase of the SCBA's. And that's it for the fire department. If you got any questions on the fire department, then we'll talk about the emergency planning.
Just the new equipment, the SCBA's, Mike, are the old ones, are you getting rid of those? Do you have to get rid of those? Can you
We're
use it?
hopefully going to sell them and get some money for them.
Yeah, but you're not gonna keep any of those to use?
No, they're not compatible with,
Okay.
we don't want to mix and match because they're completely different type of units.
Yeah, it makes sense, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it for fire? We'll
I
leave.
think he has a capital.
Pardon me?
I think you said he has a capital budget.
No, for the capital is the SCBA's for
Oh, I see,
fire.
okay.
Yeah. But emergency planning, there's a little change there under materials and supplies. It was reduced by about $6,000 due to us not keeping the contract with Telmatech for public alerting. Not only was it impossible for us to set up, but the province has now in place a public alerting system, which will be tested in about a week. I think it's next Monday, actually. So, and we can thank the province for helping us save some money there. And that's about all on the emergency planning.
Hang on, Ron, did you have
I
any?
just want, what was your total budget for emergency planning?
The total budget for emergency planning,
Change.
it's actually reduced down to $12,650.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, go ahead there, or you're all done?
That's all I've got to comment on, unless there's more questions.
Everybody satisfied? Got enough there? Thank you very much, sir. Right? Okay. Now, to finalize the budget there, everybody's seen what Cynthia's put in there for police and fire, and those are just, or at least for fire, we said, look, let's just throw in a chunk of money this year. We don't know what it's gonna work out to be, but what it does say is that we're gonna go ahead with something with the fire department. Out of all these changes there, we're down at around 0.09%. We had a few items that were left to be discussed, okay? A number of them are taken care of because the police department's come back, the library's come back. We had an item there was we reduced the car allowance for transportation of $500. I don't know if we want to even worry about that. If everybody's satisfied with those, so we'll just leave that alone. There was was reduce transportation and travel budget. I think that was for one of the departments. I think we should reduce the transportation and travel budget for council by $2,000. Because none of us are going out to see any conferences this year.
I agree with that, Your Worship. I'll tell you, I said it at one of the previous meetings. I'd like to see us set it out total and then divide it up amongst 7 people. And if there's anything that comes up that people want to attend, they just have to bring it to the council table, and if we think it's warranted, we're gonna send them anyway.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do any different for our staff. If it's something that we think is important for the community, we certainly wouldn't deny it. We're not over here to hurt anyone.
Ken?
I would agree with you, Bill, to reduce it by 2,000.
It's just that none of us going to the FEMA conference. I don't know if anybody's going to the AMO conference or has plans to. We're in their final year, and so if everybody's satisfied, we'll ask staff we'll reduce our own budget for travel and stuff like that by $2,000.
Just one question. If it's in Sudbury though, if the meeting's in Sudbury, is it still wide open or?
Well, I think that's not gonna add a lot of cost to go to Sudbury and back, but the FEMA conferences, I think in Perry Sound or Barrie this year.
Yeah, that's right.
And the AMO's in Ottawa.
Phenom's in May here,
Yeah.
and it's in Perry Sound.
Yeah, I meant the Phenom, not
Yeah.
FEMA, but Phenom.
Yeah, it's in Perry Sound, May the 7th to 8th. something.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've taken $2,000 out of we've agreed to take $2,000 out of the council budget. One of the big items we had left over was the summer students, okay? And there was some discussion on whether to reduce the summer students from 8 to 6 or leave them where they are, okay? Go ahead there, Ron.
I see Cynthia on the budget. I think you allowed for the grant again, but we haven't heard anything about grants, have we?
We did get another confirmation letter that we were approved for the 2 for up to $5,000 each. But we did have to shuffle the responsibilities because the grants are for green jobs. So we just had to shuffle some of the responsibilities.
So like cutting grass is green?
2 positions would qualify. I didn't.
I don't know, but we
They
can
are, but-
find green jobs in our area that would cover the grants.
We were able to shift the responsibilities so that we could, I would be concerned if you wanted to go down to 6, that we would have to give that back.
No, well, if we're getting grant money, I don't have a problem, but we didn't get any in the past. It was
Right.
cut right off, so if we have grant money to help offset it a bit, I don't have a problem with it
Yeah,
then.
so is everybody happy to leave the students alone at 8? Ken?
Did you say we are getting grant money?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not gonna be for the total amount, but it'll offset a significant part.
Sure.
And how much is it again? I heard, but
I've included 11,500.
that's what I thought I saw. But
Yeah.
okay, so that would be about it then?
Pardon?
That's
Would that be about it? The 11,500?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Just one more question, Bill.
Yeah,
Cynthia, you talked about another grant that we may be eligible for. Is that still in effect?
Yeah, so the 2 grants for the green program were 2 for 5,000, and then there's another one for approximately 1,600. So I've included 11,500
Okay, so
as grant.
that would be the total we're getting.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
okay. We had, on page 97, we said increase investment revenue, and you may have already done that.
I didn't bring my binder. Can you tell me what page 97 is?
I'll try to find that, okay? Some of these, I did put the page numbers down as I was recording them, but some of them I did not say.
Thanks. Oh, that's the recycling program? Yeah, that was in my chart.
Oh, you meant-
Okay, good,
We've increased that 5,500.
okay.
Yeah.
That's good, knock that off. We had on page 121, okay, where is that? We had, we had reduced the min. That was in the complex, and we had reduced the min by, okay, I'll put down the comment. The min staff front desk complex complex reduced by 2,000. Actual cost running 93 to 99K versus $107,000 budget. And I probably should have sent this off to you, but these are notes I made and I can.
So we had discussed that at the time as well. That was because the part-time position was vacant over there for a long time.
Okay,
Due to illness, yeah.
okay, so has that already been taken care of then, or is that,
No, it wasn't reduced.
Okay.
There was a reason that they was under.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Everybody's
But
happy?
it's full complement now.
yes.
Yeah, if everybody's happy, I'll
Yeah.
take that off my hit list. Page 122, we had stationery of, and that was, there's something wrong here. And, page 122 doesn't make any sense. Anyway, it's the $2,000 item, and I don't know if we want to do anything with that or not, because I can't tell you what it is, unfortunately. And it reduced stationery by $1,500, support high reduced by $1,000 to
The
$2,000.
thing is, if they don't buy it, your worship, it's not
Yeah.
used. And it's
Oh,
I can't
$1,000.
read my own writing.
I'll take that off.
I think it's a stationary too.
Economic development, we had advertisement and promotion, and then we were gonna renew the signs, and it was recommended we renew the signs every 4 years because the message starts to get diluted in the recreation, and, that was page 146.
Was that signage or banners? It was for replacing the banners.
And I'll go up 146.
126, what?
146.
Oh,
Missed that too. I'm sorry, I should have double checked all these items before I put them down. I had some notes on a sheet and I picked that stuff up and I thought I correct checked everything. There were some signs in economic development.
It is the banners, Bill.
Was it the banners?
Yeah, I can actually read my writing.
Okay,
I have here on mine, review billboards.
yeah, I thought it was billboards.
That's what I have.
Good banner.
I got banners. It is banners, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so are we gonna just leave that alone then?
Well, is that the banners on the poles going through town?
Yeah. so
'Cause they were getting
Oh, that's
For
right.
economic
Yeah,
development, so
okay.
there's some clarification there. It was definitely the banners going through town to replace some of those. Sharon did mention
The winter, we've been losing our winter banners over the years, so we're down to about half. And then the rest are tattered and worn, so they will have to be replaced. And then we did have some discussion that the original, the Invest Local campaign that we launched 4 years ago, it is, time to be changed out. So there is opportunities to change some of that signage out.
Okay, if you want, we'll just leave the budget alone there, if everybody's happy with that. We had an item which was reduced the hydro by $5,000 in the water plant. We put in those new blowers and stuff, and that was on page 171. Yes. And there was power out in the filter plant. And that's the last item I have there, okay? And
Did we reduce it? Are we going to?
well, we talked, maybe we could.
I know, but I mean, do we think we're gonna save that? Joe and Dave are here. Do we think we're gonna save on the hydro down there? But these new blowers, just a guesstimate, I know.
Yeah, we are saving money, but I mean, when it comes to hydro,
It's hard to tell.
I think it's a crapshoot, what the rates are gonna be. And just to further point out, the hydro at the water and sewer plant is on the water and sewer rates, and will have an
Yeah.
impact on the tax.
Okay, so you want to leave that alone as well?
Yeah.
And that's the last item I have. The only thing there is, we had taken $25,000 out of the historical park, and we really haven't had a chance to to get somebody to assess that, is that fair to say? So I suggest we just leave that.
If we find that it's a hazard, we
Yeah.
block it off.
Yeah,
We don't want to create a hazard where we're liable.
yeah,
We block it off. I don't see a lot of people pounding to get in there.
yeah. But it should look right, yeah,
We need to come up with a solution.
yeah,
Staff is working on that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I have for, well, Bob?
What are we not doing at the cemetery that we've reduced the wages?
Maybe if I could defer a date on that one.
Yeah. We think, you know, the grass cutting last year was less requirement. We had a phenomenal student there. So if you have a really, really good student there, it cuts down on the requirement to supplement with full-time staff. So we just found that we were trending down at the cemetery. So this year we knocked down some wages.
Okay.
There was also a double budgeted item because we had trouble with the budgeting system.
Oh, I
That when
remember
we
that
put-
now.
When we put money in the maintenance of the equipment, it lumped it into the overall wages for the cemetery, which they are supposed to be separate. The maintenance is supposed to stay in the equipment, and then the operation is supposed to be separate.
I remember that conversation, so as long as there's nothing going to be undone at the cemetery, I'm happy. Thank you.
Okay, so, we had a resolution on the students. Did you? I think you
Yeah,
took
so,
it back.
sorry, I thought I moved.
So we got a couple of resolutions here that are passed, and then,
Students and then.
well, we need people to sign off on these.
Oh, yes, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. We need to pass a resolution on the library, the police services, and the students. Okay, sure.
Yeah, that should sign it out of there.
Some of the stuff I'm getting. Okay. I have a resolution, Z, that the 2018 budget as submitted by the Police Service Board be approved. All those in favor? Moved by Ray Dufar, second by Ron Duplessis, be it resolved that the 2018 budget as submitted by the library board be approved. All those in favor? Moved by Bob Yoko, second by Ray Dufar, be it resolved the Public Works Department hired 8 summer students in 2018. All those in favor? Anything more for the budget?
Are we looking to pass our budget now?
Well, we're gonna, I guess, I'm not sure exactly what the protocol there is, okay? I guess if council is satisfied with the second draft of the budget, we'll advertise its adoption, and it can be adopted officially at our next, on May 22nd. If we're satisfied.
May 22nd, it wouldn't be ready next week, I guess, Danny. It'll be May
So we
22nd.
would have a chance to advertise it.
Oh,
before
okay.
next week.
So for satisfied.
No, I was happy to see we took those monies out of reserves for the fire hall and put it aside. We know the fire hall is gonna come in at more than 1.2 million. I hope it comes in as low as that presentation we had, but we don't know that, of course. And we're looking at a reduction in the municipal, a little gain in the municipal, but a reduction in education, which I don't remember seeing for many, many years. I don't know what's happened. But I would like to see a zero budget. I'll tell you why, Your Worship, but I'm not concerned about using reserve funds. We just proposed the sale of Espanola Hydro, and I'd like to give a little something back to the residents of Espanola. rather than take all those monies that we hope to get in the early new year. So if we reduce our budget and we get those dollars from Espanola Hydro sales, they can certainly refill our reserve budgets. Rather than just leave it sitting there, I am not opposed to Espanola coming in at a zero portion for our budget also.
Well, we're at, what?
0.9. I'm
Point
not
zero.
opposed to using a little more reserves and making it zero. Let's give the ratepayers that are here in the community and we're selling Espanola Hydro the zero budget this year and take those reserves and build them back up when we get the coffers filled with the sale of Espanola Hydro.
What's everybody's consensus on that?
I think it's a good idea.
Well, we're talking a pretty small amount of money.
I
I
think
think
it is.
It's probably,
Let's give a little something to the
probably
residents.
$10,000 or something like that, I'm
Exactly.
guessing.
It was 6,900, I think, was the levy increase, and then with the 2,000
Sure.
reduction for travel and training, it'll be 49,38. I think.
Whatever it takes.
So we, well,
Yeah, no, for $5,000.
okay, so we'll ask staff to adjust, draw the difference out of reserves to make the, now we're talking about the Espanola portion of
That's all.
$4 and some
Whatever it takes,
household
yeah.
will,
Yes,
Yeah.
because it is already a reduction, right, overall. So.
yeah. Okay. So we agreed on that, so Cynthia will make that last adjustment. So what I should do is probably, I guess we've already given staff direction anyway, so that'll be, she'll make one minor adjustment for that and that'll be it, okay? So, is that all right? Be it resolved that the special budget meeting is hereby adjourned and it's 3:05. All those in favor?